everyone. Welcome back to Reservations. We're your hosts. I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Jeremy Blair.
So once again, we are doing this over Zoom. Jeremy he really likes doing minimal work.
It's my jam. The least amount of work I can do, the better. Although setting it up does take some time, but other than that, it's not a big deal. I gotta Tetris stuff around in my
Tetris stuff.
Yeah.
Hey man, they're making that into a movie.
Oh great! I can't wait.
Welcome back everyone. Just a quick apology from me. Sorry the Pleasantville video took so long to get up. I was being at the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Yep.
So it wasn't really, at the time, a priority for me. But you know what, we got it up and actually it's doing really well.
Is it?
I'm quite shooketh. A lot of people have been sharing it around, a lot of my family.
Cool.
So if any of my family is watching this one, thank you for doing that. Please share this one around.
Yeah, the theory might be that it's not a complete downer, Pleasantville.
Yeah. My next one, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. My next one's gonna piss you off, but it's not gonna piss you off just because I'm trying to piss you off. There's a reason behind it.
But it's not. Your next one is not our next episode, and we'll get to that also. We have a special guest coming next week. Isn't that correct?
Right. Yes. Which we'll talk about.
We'll talk about that. We have a special guest in the special episode for next week, but we'll get to that at the end.
Yes. So
Rain, you watched The Road for me.
Yes. The movie that took your downers and just went because this movie is not a downer, it is just bleak. It's just a very which I mean, okay, in and of itself is a good thing because this is a post-apocalyptic movie that doesn't shy away from what probably most humans would do to survive, because ultimately this is just as a survival movie. And that was something I appreciated. Most post-apocalyptic movies are like, I'm going to use another Charlize Theron movie, Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
It's very bright and it's beautiful, but there's still some semblance of a society. And I guess we're just jumping right into it.
Yeah.
There's some semblance of a society in Mad Max Fury Road. Yes, it's a dictatorship, but people know where water is coming from. People know that supplies are coming from somewhere. As where the road, the man and the boy, because they have no names.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have names within the universe, but we never hear them speak the names. They don't know when they're going to get their next meal.
Right.
They don't know where they're going to find their next meal. They don't even know if they're going to die in their sleep.
Yeah.
It's just very bleak.
It's one of the first things you notice, that the first thing the man does when he wakes up is make sure the boy is there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He does it a couple of times in the film, and then his gun. Right.
Right.
And then he assesses where he is and makes sure that nothing got stolen. And it's this constant fear of other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is present throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
And of course, not only is this film basically just about survival, but it's also about preserving the innocence of this child, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's something that kind of came across my mind when they find the house, when they find the underground bunker and they find the skeleton in the bed, and Viggo Mortensen says, nothing we haven't seen before. And all I could think is like, man, this kid's probably 10 years old. He's never really had a childhood.
No.
And in this world, he never will have a childhood.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot, or I guess technically the movie I'm about to reference reminds me of The Road. Room. I don't know if you saw Room. with Brie Larson.
I did not.
Um,
I really wanted to. I mean, that won
the
her the Oscar that year.
yeah, the kid in the story,
Jacob
he,
Tremblay.
his entire world
Is
is that
this room?
shed,
Yeah.
right? And so the film does a really good job in creating this gigantic space within the shed until he leaves, right? And then they go back and it's this very small shed,
Mhm.
because it's his entire world, right? And he has no other frame of reference. And
Right.
that's sort of this child's existence as well. Vigo even mentions it later where he's like, you just think I just come from a different planet, right? A different world,
Mhm.
because he has lived a normal life before.
Before this. Yeah.
Right. This child has not. And so this is one of my big questions in this film that I want to present to you. Was it right to keep the child? Charlize's character, the woman, she is obviously very against having a child in this world, right? It will
Mhm.
only suffer, right?
Mhm.
Um, and the man wants to keep the child and raise it for whatever reason.
Yeah. Um that is a that is a dilemma because, because Shirley says in the second flashback, we can't bring a child into this. We can't do this to them. And we kind of see her in the flashbacks gripping with this decision. I personally don't have an answer for it.
Okay.
Um, because the film and of course the book does a good job of painting the man as a good father. He
Hmm.
he loves his son. He will do whatever he can to make sure his son survives. Um, man, I
I know.
you stumped me, buddy. You stumped
Yeah.
me.
Well, I thought about it because, Charlize has a point. The woman has a
Yeah,
point,
I mean, and she
right?
does.
And the fact that she is trying so hard to reject the birthing process when she's in labor, right?
Hmm.
And a little, behind the scenes is that was really her screaming. That was really, I mean, that was,
Yeah, I know they used a lot of realism for this
and
film.
and the director was like, well, we may just want to use um, audio of real woman in labor.
Hmm.
And Charlize said, absolutely not. I'll do it myself. And we get this very visceral, guttural
Scream.
screaming,
Yeah.
right? That she gives. And of course, it paints this picture that she is, of course, completely against,
Yeah.
you
She's
know,
she's
giving birth.
she's really trying to not trying to make a joke. She's really trying to keep the child up there.
And
And it's very hard to watch.
where the woman is a pessimist, the man is an optimist, and
Mhm.
he is completely sure that they're going to survive and they're going to make it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that mentality is his motivations throughout the entire film. Is they're going to get through this,
No,
whatever
yeah.
this is, right? They're
Oh
going to
yeah.
get through it.
Oh yeah. I 100% agree.
He's absolutely wrong.
Uh it's that shit. No, 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 no. No, this is gonna make my not really a joke, just it's gonna make my bit fall flat. Um oh, there it is. It's that Aragon optimism.
Yes, he is also Aragon. That is correct. Um,
Hey,
oh my god.
at least it was not as bad as last week, man.
That's
Last
true.
last week I was really worried I was gonna get like some texts from some of our friends who listen. They're like, tell Rain to shut up. But I didn't.
Well, not our mutual friends, no, but I got some text. Uh,
It's that dang old Backstreet Boys reunion tour, man. I couldn't help it.
I know.
I had to use my lungs. I had to have it that way.
It's oh my god. So I'm looking over my notes. So Um, I think when you finally realize just how far this film is going to go, or the story is going to go,
Mhm.
in terms of um, how dire is their situation, how real do we want to portray the situation, is reminding the boy how to properly shoot himself in the head,
Yeah,
right?
that I was like, "Oof."
And
That's
it's a reminder they have gone through this before, right?
right.
As is stated in the movie,
Excuse me.
and so that always gets me every time. It's in the very beginning.
Oh, yeah, it's
Um,
it's one of the first interactions that we get, uh, father and son. Father pretty much saying, like, "You just pull back on this, and you stick it in your mouth like this," and I was
and you point it up. Don't go back because you'll just blow out the back of your throat. You'll survive that. So,
yep.
and it's one of those situations where like, oh my god, he's talking to a child, but in this instance, right, he would rather the kid
Take his
kill
life.
himself, right, and
Then
then
then, the 2 alternatives is starving to death and, being apparently eaten alive by cannibals.
the book goes into more detail about the cannibalism. There is uh,
Is there
infant
Yeah,
deaths, and yeah,
I read that they actually filmed a scene with
yeah.
a baby on a spit, but, Joe is it the Joel? Jim something with the J. The
Okay.
director was like, "It's a little too much." So
Yeah,
he cut
I
it.
mean, it's in the book, but
Well, I mean, you know,
there's a difference between reading it and seeing it, I suppose.
yeah, I mean, it's like the whole controversial scene of it,
Right.
that
It's John, by the way.
oh, John. See, I knew it was
John Hillcoat. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But I understand why he cut it. Is it am I is this adding to the story or am I shocking for shock's sake?
yeah, and that's exactly what his decision was. Is it's too far, it's too much. They get it.
Yeah.
The audience understands.
Yeah, oh yeah, I got it very early on that this world, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this world is very bleak. There is, even though Viggo Mortensen is an unbridled optimist, we the audience know there is no hope in this world.
Right.
You know, uh,
The narration helps us understand that, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
Um, and they obviously this is taken directly from the book. Cormac McCarthy is an amazing writer, and we've done a Cormac McCarthy before. We've done Sunset Limited.
dude.
Um,
Again, we haven't seen you two in the same room together.
yeah, me, Cormac McCarthy, and myself. Yeah. Uh,
Everyone, we need to start the hashtag. Jeremy is Cormac McCarthy. Because
I
he's
wish
87. He's 87 years old, and Jeremy already does act like an old man.
that's true.
That's highly sus. So, but I mean, yeah, he's a phenomenal writer. I adored the Sunset Limited. I loved um the pacing of that, and this is such a I'm glad that you told me that's who it was because I actually didn't know
Oh, okay,
he
right
had
on.
written Sunset Limited. Because I feel like much like with actors, this shows his range as a writer. You know, I could talk for hours about the Sunset Limited, which I would have loved because I'm so glad you showed me that.
Yeah.
Um, and then this is just such a stark contrast where the Sunset Limited was actually very hopeful, that he was going to be able to change this man's mind. As where the road is, it's just bleak. It's got no hope for anyone, not even the cannibals. The cannibals don't even have hope.
No, one of my favorite underrated character actors, Garrett Dillahunt,
Yes, yeah.
is in this film, and he's
The
also in No Country for Old Men, which is another Cormac McCarthy adaptation.
son of a bitch, really.
Um, and I'm a gigantic fan of his. Always have
Oh,
been forever, right?
oh yeah, he is again, now I'm going to go back to an actor with really good range. You know, he's hilarious in comedies, and then he was very sinister in. I
In
mean,
this
yeah,
one.
he's only got about 15, about probably about 10 minutes of screen time, but in that 10 minutes, he's very sinister and he's very, you know, you 100% believe he's going to kill the boy.
Yeah. Those of you who maybe don't know who Garrett Dillahunt is in the film, he is the one of the members of the gang that they encounter in the tunnel.
Yeah, yeah, they're
And
sleeping in the
he
minivan and they see them coming
right.
out of the tunnel.
And he steps out to take a leak, and he runs into our heroes.
Yeah,
And of course, like you were saying, there's no hope for the cannibals. He ends up being a victim of cannibalism himself.
yeah. Oof,
Yeah,
man. But they do say no honor amongst thieves. I guess no honor amongst cannibals.
no,
Because
it's
because I read that
again, yeah,
he was credited as like the leader of this gang, or at least maybe this outfit.
yeah,
But
which tells you the desperation,
mhm,
right? Is there is like you said, no honor, right? They're he's available to be eaten, right? Therefore, they will do so.
yeah,
Um, which is terrifying. And
yeah,
also what this film does really, really well is shows you how comfortable they have become in this world when they're in this barn and the kid is looking up at something. We don't know what it is yet, and then it turns out the family has hanged themselves in the barn,
mm, mhm,
and he's not freaked out really. He's afraid that someone put them up there.
right.
Uh,
That it
and
wasn't.
so once the man explains to him it was suicide, and he's like, "Oh, okay." Right.
Yeah, yeah. Most, I would say, I guess a normal child would probably be panicking and freaking out, and the boy is just like, especially when the man says, "You know why," and he's like, "Oh, yeah,"
Yeah.
and then
He's yeah, Vigo's the man is not tolerating any sort of naivete, right?
yeah,
So when the boy asks why did they do it, that's a silly question, right?
mhm, you know
Look
why they did
around.
it, yeah,
Yeah, you know, we
but
aren't that far behind.
but it's funny you say that because I feel like there are little parts that he does try to let his son hold on to a little bit of his innocence
Mhm.
as a child, like referring to the cannibals and them good guys versus bad guys. We're the good guys. We would never do that.
Right.
And it shows that he, again, we can tell that he does love his son, and he will do whatever he can to protect his son, but you could also tell that he is trying to let him live somewhat of a normal, well, I wouldn't say normal life, have a childhood, at least just a little bit, you know,
Yeah, I
maybe.
know exactly what you mean. The fact that the kid carries around a stuffed animal,
Mhm.
right? Shows you that, you know, holding on to some childhood innocence is still
Yeah.
there, right?
Mhm.
Um, However, you know, then again with the whole, um,
Reminding, how we shoot a gun and how we
right,
kill ourselves.
right, um, keeping him grounded on the reality of the situation he's in, right?
Mhm.
Um, Constantly being vigilant, um, being distrustworthy of others, and things like that.
Mhm.
There's no time not to teach that, right?
Yeah.
And again, this kid crushes this role.
Oh, yeah, man.
Every time I see it, I am just so blown away
Which
by his
is
performance.
which is a little crazy because as he's gotten older, because as we mentioned off mic, and I'm gonna out myself. I'm gonna out myself in front of our audience. I did not get to finish the movie,
Mm,
um, but anyway, it's funny that that Cody Smith
McPhee. Mhm.
Mcphee, yeah, he kills it, and then the last few like big budget movies he's done, uh, he's just been kind of okay.
Yeah, you gotta, again, it shows you the power of the source material and
Oh,
the power
absolutely.
of this film because you're right. I've not seen him give a better performance since then. Then again, I haven't really been interested in the other things he's been doing.
I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
if anyone
So
knows what we might be talking about, I'm making reference to the fact that he's the younger version of Nightcrawler in the last few X-Men movies. His best role as Nightcrawler was in Deadpool 2 when they all like make that little cameo. But of course, he's just standing there with like a cup in his hand and he's just like but point being for this being like his kind of like breakout role, he crushes it. Like
yeah, and he being so young,
mhm.
not using a dialect coach.
Yeah, cuz he's Australian.
Yeah, so that accent is, his doing, which is, impressive for
Well,
him,
and I read that in the scene where Vigo is washing off his hair in the river, um John the director promised we're going to get it in two takes cuz it's cold. I promised Cody we'll get it in two takes and then we're going to move on. But in that second take the sun had come out and ruined it. So he's like, Cody, I'm sorry, we got to do one more. And I guess the river was so cold
so cold.
that those are his genuine tears. And shout out to Vigo for really not only staying in character but really trying to comfort this child
Yeah,
who's
and,
crying in his
getting
arms.
getting this done so they can be finished, right?
Yeah.
Poor guy. All right, so, yeah, cat's out of the bag, you didn't get to finish because of work stuff or whatever, so,
And I
um,
got that
which
PS5,
is
dog.
right, whatever. So, um, so it's gonna be kinda hard to well, it won't be hard, I mean, I can describe it to you.
It,
Uh,
it'll be hard for me to really visualize,
so you got to the shelter, so
which is such a powerful scene, not only in terms of acting, but in terms of our heroes, because the whole movie they've been living off of crickets and whatever they can find,
yeah.
and then they hit the mother lode. They've got
Yeah, and they hit this bomb shelter, that has every single thing they've ever need and ever will need, right?
yeah, they got
Um,
that vitamin water. They got them peaches.
yeah. There's Cheetos, there's booze in there,
Yeah.
there's yeah, water, anything, right? Anything
Oh
you
yeah.
need. So, once it kinda hits this point of the film, for some reason, I don't know why I didn't do it in the beginning, but I started breaking it down into chunks.
Okay.
So there's the bomb shelter, there's the old man, there's the thief. So I broke it down into episodes, if you will.
Okay.
Um, Pretty sure I could have done it at the beginning. I don't know why I didn't do that, but anyway,
Well, and I think I know why you might have done it that towards after this because this is the most hopeful that we the audience are in the movie.
agreed.
They
We,
found
I mean,
they found
we're
food. Oh my
waiting
god.
now. Me being the way I am,
Yeah, you being the pessimist you
I
are.
remember when I saw this the first time. I
It's
was like waiting for that other shoe to drop.
I was about to say you were probably like it's all downhill after this.
Yeah, I mean, like, they can't live here forever, right?
Yeah.
As much as we would like them to. Um,
Yeah, because then after they feast, they bathe themselves, they cut their hair. Uh we see them clean also for the first time
yeah,
since
there's a great shot of the bathtub that all of the dirt
yeah, it has
is
just
being
collected.
collected on the bottom,
Mhm.
and, just to think about how long it's been since they've taken a shower or bathed themselves. you
Yeah.
know, God knows, right?
Mhm.
It's shortly after that they hear noises and people above them, and they realize they're not safe there anymore, right?
Yeah.
This is a little heartbreaking when the boy obviously doesn't want to leave, and he really truly doesn't understand why they can't stay, right?
Mhm.
And it's this point where, the man has to remind the boy of how awful people can be, and he goes, "We are not safe here anymore." Right?
Mhm.
We have to go. We'll take everything that we possibly can carry with us, but we have to go. And
Yeah.
so they do.
And well, and we before we move on, and the man tried his hardest to make sure they couldn't be found when he puts the mattress over
Yeah,
the
that was smart.
hole because he knew, like, okay, at one point, I stepped on this, someone else steps on, and here's metal, we're done for.
Yeah.
But okay, anyway, continue, since this is the part that I didn't get to see
So now that they're back, um,
in the real world.
right, they're back on the road. They come across this old man, um, and it's Robert Duvall.
Love that guy.
And it's now that we are seeing someone, our first reaction is to be terrified because there's
Yeah.
another person, right? Every single time they've met someone, it's not gone well, right?
Right.
In this case, um, they, after some arguing, from the boy and the man, because the boy just wants to help him out, right?
Right.
Because he is 90 years old. His eyes are sort of milky, and he is, having a hard time, right?
Yeah, he
And so,
he is probably not long for this world.
no, they offer to um, have him camp out with them that night and to eat with them. And the man, Eli, the only character to have a name, um, it tells them the story about, he lost his son and doesn't want to go into it, doesn't want to talk about it. Seeing the man's son, seeing the boy, he thought, he was seeing an angel, that he couldn't believe he sees a child, right?
Right.
And it's given him this hope, right? And
This
and then of
unnecessary
course,
hope.
yeah, and then of course, then they leave the man after the night, right? So
Right.
the man goes on his separate way, they go on theirs. Um, and of course, the man accuses them of following him at first, right?
Yeah, I read that he was like, "Why you been following me?"
And of course, that's very important. Um, and it's going to be important when they run into the thief. Um, so few minutes goes by in the film. Um, they make it to the beach, which is really Lake Michigan, um, which is genius to do it this way, and I'll get there.
Okay.
So they get to the beach. There is a shipwrecked ship, obviously,
A
not
beach
far,
tip.
kind of. So it's not on the beach, but it's
It's ran aground.
right. So it's pretty far from the shore, but not so far that he can't go check it out. And so the man goes and checks out the ship while the boy rests
Yeah,
on the
I
beach.
read I read that the man is like that he's entrusting his son, watch our stuff. I'm gonna just be right back. Watch the stuff. Make sure no one steals it. And the boy falls asleep.
The boy falls asleep and the stuff goes missing, right? Someone has gone and taken their stuff. So the man comes back. They go and track down their stuff. It is have been stolen. The actor is Michael K. Williams,
Oh,
whom I love very much. Some of you might know him from The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, Gone Baby Gone, uh, several things. He's amazing, right? In this, it's weird not seeing him be this sort of tough guy, right?
right.
Um, The man accuses the thief of following them. He goes, "Nope, I promise you I wasn't following you. I saw the stuff and I just took it. I'm sorry." You know.
Mhm.
Um he This is where we get this sort of gray area of
Okay.
good guy or bad guy. Because then the man makes the thief strip and gives them all of his clothes, including his shoes, and they leave him there.
Hmm.
Um, as the man would say, it's what he just did to us, right?
Right.
Leaving us with nothing. We are going to leave him with nothing, right? And as the guy begs and pleads, don't leave him there. They leave him there, and we never see him again.
Yeah.
Um, there's no way he survived,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Definitely not.
So essentially, the man killed this guy, right? And so then we sort of get this constant question that the boy always asks: Are we the good guys or the bad guys? In this case, eh, eh, the man was sort of a bad guy, and
Yeah.
I think it was just his anger got a hold of him. He's just so fed up, right?
Yeah. They're
Um,
probably trying to, being the only optimist in a world where people don't want hope, they just want food. They want to get to the next day.
yes, and in this case, I think that he has been he has been staying strong. Sorry, that's so loud. Um, he has been staying strong for so long, and um, that once this was sort of the final straw, right?
Uh,
Especially after they had just gotten all of this stuff that they need,
right.
it's taken, right? And so he decides to take everything from this man, and that might not have been
The
the right
best
way to go,
course.
but
But I mean, yeah, something that I've learned from a lot of, apocalyptic movies is that hope is a killer.
yeah,
It's okay to have, but to be Viggo Mortensen, this unbridled optimist, like we will survive, which is a good mentality to have. Eventually, it eats away at you, where you do have this moral ambiguity where, yes, he did just kill this man, but he never pulled the trigger. So,
yeah. But I mean, for sure, that guy's gonna die,
oh yeah,
right?
he's dead. He already died.
Yeah, like he is. There's no way that he survived,
Yeah.
um, and so there's this sort of strange character development that happens in that scene
Yeah.
with the man. And then we get to my last two, um, and the arrow. So they have recovered all of their stuff and they're traveling through this neighborhood, and someone shoots an arrow at them
Yeah.
uh, from a building, right? And and they get the man in the in the leg, right?
Yeah.
And so he shoots a flare into the window, ends up killing the guy who got him square in the chest. And as a matter of fact, the guy who shot the arrow at him.
Hmm.
Um, and again, he goes, "How long have you been following us?" And they're like, "We haven't been following you. You just walked by.
Yeah.
Relax." Um, and of course, she's a little beside herself because he just killed the man she was with. Um, and so now he's injured and more injured than he has been this entire time.
Hmm.
He When they were getting cleaned up, haircuts and all that, you could see that he had something around his knee.
Yeah.
So he's not 100%. Hasn't been this entire movie, right?
That dry cough he's had is I was
It's
like
not great.
I was like that's gonna get him. That's gonna until I read what happens, but I was like, that's gonna get him, man.
He
He's
tries his very best to clean the wound and to close it, but I really wish you had seen this part. because he does, when he pulls out the arrow,
Oh,
he does it with a knife, and so he has to dig because
oh,
it's, again, it's the triangle arrowhead, and so he can't just
mm,
pull it out,
yeah.
right? They're not
You'll cause
designed
more
that way.
damage.
That's right. And so he has to dig and pull it out, and then he staples it back together
Uh,
with a stapler, right?
where did he find a
Um,
staple gun?
he just it was just like a regular like office stapler. I don't know where he
Oh
had it.
no.
Yeah, and
Those
so he just
staples,
staples it with a stapler.
oh my God, those staples aren't even designed to pierce flesh that deep.
I wish you had seen that part. But anyway, so now he is dying for real this
Oh yeah,
time.
he's not gonna.
Not just blood loss, but now it's going to get infected and it's really compromises his immune system that's already been compromised, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's done for.
So he's a goner. So they make it to this other beach. Um, and again, Lake Michigan. It's having it's making the post-apocalyptic world more real because the ocean doesn't look like the ocean, right?
Hmm,
Because in reality, it isn't. They shot it in Lake Michigan, but
right.
having it serve as the ocean, right? Which still has waves, things like that, but it's not quite right. Um, gives a level of sort of reality to this dire situation the Earth is in at all, right? The
Right.
fact that the trees keep falling and the ocean doesn't look quite right, um, leads you to believe that the Earth is really dying, right? And
Yeah.
that there is no hope at all for this world. Um, so here's where "Why Are You Following Me" becomes so important. Is that after a while he's staying with his father and they wake up one morning and his father is dead. The man died
Mhm.
um, during the night. He gets up and he sees someone, right?
Mhm.
Um, they call him the veteran. It's Guy Pearce.
Oh wow, I love Guy Pearce.
Yeah, and Guy Pearce is again threatening looking. Everybody is, right?
Yeah.
The boy points the pistol at him. The man says, "Hold on, put the pistol down, buddy." And he goes, "You're not taking it." He goes, "I don't want it. You can have it. Just don't point it at me." And he's telling them that, you know, "Are you here by yourself?" "No, I'm with my dad." "Okay, where's your dad?" "He's dead," whatever. He goes, "You can come with me. We can take you in." And he says that he has a boy, he has a girl, uh, his wife, and they have a dog, right?
Uh,
Um, and the boy asks, "Are you carrying the fire?" And of course, this is a big deal. This is a good analogy for him and his dad, right? Because they're the
yeah.
good guys, they carry the fire, right? And once the man understands what he means by that, he says yes. And he takes them to meet his family. Molly Parker plays his wife. Molly Parker, wonderful actress. She's been in a bunch of stuff. She's in House of Cards. She was in 1922, most recently on Netflix. Um,
Trying to visualize her face.
I am missing a bunch of stuff she's been in, but that's not the point.
Okay. Well,
It was
anyway.
just another recognizable face, right? And she says, "We've been following you, um, and we just want to make sure you're okay. We were so worried about you." And they ask if he wants to go with them, and he says yes, and the movie's over.
Yeah, so we don't know if they're just saying
This
that to
this I believe is supposed to be. This is where I'm going to be optimistic and not pessimistic, is I think,
they really were trying to
yeah,
help.
yeah, and the boy that's with them is the boy that he sees
At the house.
at the house. It's the boy that's with that family.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so
So do you think that maybe they knew that Viggo Mortensen probably wasn't going to make it, and so
maybe,
they wanted to follow them?
I don't know, much like, most of the details in this story, they're not given to you. Um, the apocalypse doesn't have an explanation. Thank God. I do not like
Yeah,
that.
I
I
feel
do
like
not
I feel
like it
like
when they do that.
I feel like if they would have spoon fed us like the earth boiled and now
That's when the bombs went off. And who cares, right?
what is this, Greenland?
Yeah. So, um,
Maybe we're
so
just
I like to think that th- they will take care of him, and they are the good guys, right?
I I think that's a good way to end a movie that really shoves in the audience face there is no hope in this world. Um, I think that's a good ambiguous ending, you
Mhm.
know, to make us feel like okay, he's going to be cared for. Uh, he is going to be, he's not going to have to use that pistol
Right.
anytime soon, at least. Um, because for sure, if they didn't find him, he was going to have to use that pistol on himself, which is a very
Yeah.
morbid thought to think of.
Yeah, because there's another. I mean, there's a lot of scenes in this where you're just like, I can't believe he's talking to his son like that.
Yeah,
But the kid asks, "Are they going to die?" He goes, "No, it takes a long time to die from starvation. You don't just keel over,
yeah,
right?" And you're like, I can't believe he's talking to him like that,
mhm.
right?
Yeah. When they're trying to sleep in the 18 wheeler,
Yeah.
and
And he's like, "No, what do you think's going to happen? It takes a while, you know."
yeah,
And it's like, God, I get it,
no sugarcoating here, man.
but not for these non-apocalyptic mindsets that we're in.
Yeah,
Uh, Makes you wonder if that's how you should be talking to your children if something like this were to happen. Who knows?
yeah.
Uh,
Um, so man, I want to talk for 20 hours about Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen is amazing.
He, I think people, I think, around this time, 2009, around the the early 2000s, before 2010 and on, I think around this time, a lot of people were taking him for granted because they just seen Lord of the Rings, and I feel like he didn't. I don't. I'm not saying that like he got typecast, but I feel like he did kind of fit into this bubble
I
of
have I have two really good examples for you about why he wasn't at this time.
and this is just my opinion because
Yeah, no, 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 and yeah,
I haven't seen a lot of his films. I mean, I've seen Hidalgo, which isn't a
I
good
completely
example,
forgot about that one.
which is I think
I
2006, 2005.
completely
I
forgot
know
about
it
that
was
one.
his movie after Lord of the Rings.
That would have been like 04, 05, yeah.
Well, at least in terms of when it was released, because anyway, point being, I feel like he kind of fit into this bubble, and seeing this movie, it shows his range in kind of like a new way. Because Hidalgo's good. I mean, well, it's okay.
I
I
haven't seen it since it came out, so I have no idea.
Neither have I. Um, my memory of it is it was just good. You know, I don't really like. I don't think I've ever admitted this on the podcast. I've never really liked movies where one of our characters is an animal, specifically a real animal. Fantastic.
This is why we're friends for real, because I'm the exact same way.
It's
And
like,
I've admitted that on the podcast. I've had to because I am not
well,
like
it's
anyway,
just
doesn't matter.
me being. I love animals, and but in terms of like movies like Hidalgo, I feel like the horse is a crutch in terms of storytelling. But you have your rant about the year. This is my rant about animals being used as story crutches. That's just how I've always viewed it. Anyway, point being, Vigo knocks it out of the park with this movie. Showing a dad that is not only trying to keep up hope, not only for himself, clearly himself, but for his child, still reeling from the loss of his wife
Mhm.
and just trying to survive in a world that is just so harsh and so against someone like himself. And he knocks it out of the park. Uh, I was not expecting to see his bare ass in the movie, though. I will say
A couple
that.
of times. Yeah. That was my
Is that your highlight?
no, that was my thing of trying to get mom to watch it. I was like, yeah, but you see his butt, so it's pretty good. Um, she still said no. This movie is definitely not for her. As soon as Vigo describes how to properly kill yourself, she would shut it off. I mean, this movie's not for her.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I couldn't foresee your mom uh turning off this movie when it was over, being like, "Wow, that was such an amazing movie."
wow, thank you for this recommendation, Jeremy. She would not have said that. She would be like, Jeremy, what the hell did you just make me watch? I hate you. So, um, here's something that I
Dude, our audience are gonna think your parents just like don't like you at all.
yeah, no, my parents love me. They're fine. But uh so I know that with the next few weeks we have a lot of quote homework to do
Yeah.
for this show. But I do recommend, especially to our audience who isn't really familiar with a lot of Vigo's filmography, is definitely watch A History of Violence, which is incredible. It's the start of the second half of David Cronenberg's career, where he stops doing the body horror stuff and he
And
delves more into dramas and thrillers.
that's
It's amazing.
interesting.
And Eastern Promises is another one, another David Cronenberg.
Didn't you tell me
Um,
to really watch Captain Fantastic?
Captain Fantastic is really good. You thought I was gonna say fantastic.
No,
That
I was like, oh, maybe he
that
didn't
is
really
really good.
like it.
I really enjoyed Captain Fantastic as well.
Um, isn't that the first movie he did after he took his little break after he did this movie?
He
Or no,
did
that would have been
no
2011. When
um, after this movie,
because I
he
read
did
that
take
he
a
took
break.
like a 2 year
Yeah,
break, so it would be 2011. I don't know what he did in 2011.
I don't either. Those are just my top three.
Didn't he almost get an Oscar for Green Book?
Listen, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like that movie, so like whatever. Like if he was nominated, I don't remember if he was.
I think he might have. Well, or I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was probably
He
nominated.
plays a cartoon character anyway. Um, listen, it's not about Green Book. This would never be, because I would refuse to do that episode.
Well,
So
it didn't really interest me anyway, so we'll probably never talk about it.
thank God. But
Unless
definitely, I mean, definitely Eastern Promises or A History of Violence. I mean, those are definitely
okay.
on the list for later on. Excellent films.
Yeah, man, yeah, man. The movie was fantastic. I mean, again, I outed myself. I never got to finish it. But unlike Hereditary, where I chose not to finish the movie,
Yes, that's why I'm not giving you a super hard time. It wasn't your fault this time. I mean,
yeah,
it kind of was, but
I
that's
mean,
not.
someone in the comments is gonna be like, "Oh, he could have easily finished it." Listen, my PlayStation 5 came in yesterday. I had to play that.
This is where people are gonna be so mad at you. I wasn't gonna mention that was the
I don't
reason
care.
why.
I know someone's gonna be like, "How did you even get one? I've been waiting on mine for 5 months." But anyway, I will finish the movie because even though I know how it ends,
Again, powerhouse performances
yeah,
by everybody.
even though I know how it ends, that's still 45 minutes of movie that I didn't get to see. And even though the film is very bleak, I think we've made that very apparent. The film is very bleak.
Yeah,
It's it's really good
yeah. I
because
saw it. I saw it with my dad the first time. It was on TV. It was
uh
on like Showtime or HBO or something, and I didn't have an immediate opinion. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before on the podcast, where if I don't have an immediate opinion and someone next to me has an extremely
high
uh,
opinion.
like yeah, like an extreme opinion, I
Uh-huh.
usually take that opinion because I'm like, oh well, they have an extreme opinion, they must be right. Dad
Well, now
hated
you're
it.
an adult, so you can make your
Yeah,
own opinion.
Dad hated The
Really?
Road because of how
How bleak it was?
yeah, because of how depressing it is, right? It was the same thing with There Will Be Blood. He also didn't like that one.
Really? Is that
These are
Bob
two
Homicidal?
films that I would recommend to anybody, right?
Well, and see, like, and like the point I made at the beginning is that yes, it's bleak. Like I got that from the first moment we see this post-apocalyptic world is that it's bleak. There is no hope in this world. But like I said, in comparison to like uh I want to use a different post-apocalyptic movie, but I can't think of any right now. So I'll just use Mad Max again.
Okay.
In comparison to Mad Max, the world of Mad Max, yes, there are dictators, but this world does have hope in some form or another. There is hope. Um, but in this world of the road, there is no hope, and I think that's what makes it much more powerful. Because in Mad Max, we know Max is eventually going to show up, and then we know he's going to upset the status quo, and he's going to be the hero, and he's going to free everyone, and everyone's going to live happily ever after in this godforsaken wasteland.
I'm looking at my movies behind you,
I
just to
was
see if
like,
there's a
what
post,
are you doing?
because there might be a post-apocalyptic one up there
Well,
that I could use.
let's see. I'm looking over. I'm looking over at mine.
I mean, there's Rover, which not a lot of people have seen. It's an Australian post-apocalyptic film with Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson. That
I
one's
love Guy
really,
Pearce.
really good. Um, I'm sure there's some behind me that I can't see. Um,
I know I've seen some other post-apocalyptic movies.
I've seen a bunch, but
I
you're
just,
right. Now that I'm trying to think about it, it's hard.
yeah, it's
Um,
when someone asks you. Well, I mean, technically, any zombie film is a
that's
post-apocalyptic
true.
movie. You
Book of
know,
Eli can technically be one as well.
that's okay. Hang on, I'm glad you mentioned that. I can't believe I forgot about the Book of Eli. I love the Book of Eli. But that's another bleak post-apocalyptic world, but it still has hope. You know, it's shot in almost a very similar style, a very gray world.
Yeah.
Um, but Book of Eli still has hope. And even though that film was fantastic and definitely future episode, definitely, I adore that movie. Um, there's still hope in this world, and the road has no hope. Even when John, the director, gives the audience, hey, here's our high point. Our heroes found food, and we really, it's almost like he lulled the audience into a sense of, well, one would say that the book also did it, that we are lulled into this false sense of hope. Like our heroes are going to make it. They got food. They got to be clean. And then again, I like your term, just waiting for the other shoe to drop,
Yeah.
because in this world, there's no hope. Uh,
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of
there's nothing to
there's
cling
no comfortability. I mean, as soon as you see them being comfortable and content, you got to set a timer on it, because
Yeah.
it's like that's not going to last very long.
Yeah. And so my point is I appreciate that. I appreciate that this is a world that could be very real, which is a scary thought. But, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows,
Right.
It's not like the Book of Eli. There's not one place, which for some reason is Alcatraz in the Book of Eli world, but one place where people can live in harmony and be free from the violence outside their walls. In the road, it's real. It's, are
Yeah,
our heroes gonna make it another day?
it's kind of like Cormac McCarthy took White's point of view of everything in Sunset Limited
Uh-huh. Okay.
and said that's the point of view we're going to show the apocalypse, where it's distrustworthy,
Yeah.
it's mayhem, it's it's hopeless, right?
Yeah.
And so where and that's how White would see the world, right?
Yeah.
um
Shout out
in
to
Sunset
our
Limited.
Sunset Limited episode.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, like I said,
So
I could talk for hours about that.
I'm glad you enjoyed
Yeah.
The Road.
Yeah, again, like I said, I feel like you just took all the downers you've already picked and you're just like, yeah, we're gonna throw those out the window. This isn't a downer. This is just I'm just gonna make you feel depressed. I mean, but of course I felt like I did that when we did Gilbert Grape because I feel like it
I
was
have a very high tolerance.
too much.
Now,
Well, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, there are several that I still have not yet.
Jesus Christ.
We yeah, man. I mean,
Oh, God.
again, I tend to gravitate towards films like these because I don't know. I just think it's interesting to
Well, and
see how far a filmmaker will go.
yeah, and I think like I mentioned, I think I love that John used a lot of realism for this, like Cody actually crying, uh Charlize belting out these very guttural, almost animalistic screams,
Yeah.
you know. And people should I truly think people should appreciate filmmakers who are willing to go that extra mile. You know, of course, like some directors kind of force these things out of their actors, but it almost seems like in Joe's case, the take worked. Like with Cody crying, the take worked. Like, sorry, buddy, let's get you warmed up. I like that take. We're using it.
Poor guy.
I know. And I'm sure John was like,
I hate being that cold.
Cody, you did a great job, buddy. Get him warmed up now.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
Yeah, man. So you survived another week of a Jeremy pick, and so have our listeners. So congratulations.
Yes. Again, I guess season 5 became is at least on Jeremy's end,
Yeah,
the
it's my
unofficial season of downers
yeah, of course.
because my next pick, even though it will not be our next episode, which we'll explain here in a second, my next pick will piss you off. But like I said, not piss you off because I'm just trying to be like, fuck him. But it's because there's a point to it.
Huh?
So,
Okay.
so would you rather me tell you this now?
All right, so let's do this. Let's remind the audience of our timeline. So the next one is going to be our special episode with our special guest.
Yes.
Then it's going to be Rain's. Then it's going to be mine. And again, mine is I'm thinking of ending things. Please read or listen to the book.
Mean, 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. I should give me plenty of time to listen to the
It
audio.
should.
So
trust me, once you start listening, you're not going to want to stop if you choose to listen to it.
So we'll go ahead and say our special episode. So as everyone knows, Jeremy and I talk about our parents a lot on the show. Sorry, I could feel a burp coming again.
Jesus Christ.
There it is. Anyway, and just like Jeremy's parents, I talk about my parents a lot. And for a while, way back in the infancy of this, before Jeremy became a co-host, I wanted to get my mom on. And the only movie really that I felt like was really cool to talk about with her was Bohemian Rhapsody, because my mom actually lived through the 80s and lived through Queen's kind of resurgence in the 80s. And so I really wanted to talk about that with her, but we just never got around to it with my mom living in Austin. And then of course this became our thing. So
oops. I'm just too good. Like as soon as you add me on somewhere, like I'm gonna blow it up. You know what I mean? Like it's my fault really for being so good at this.
But while I was in full swing of the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, I get a call from my mom, and she pretty much puts her foot down and says, I'm going to be on the show next week. We're going to talk about Tombstone.
Boom! Tombstone, baby!
So
Tombstone!
Next week, we will have my mom on, and we will discuss Tombstone.
Mickey's coming. That's fun.
It's going to be a special episode because for the first time ever on the podcast, it'll be someone that's neither of us nor Alex.
Yeah. That'll be super fun.
And I should probably remind her, she's probably forgotten, So I should probably remind her this week, like, hey, you said you'd be on, and we've already told our audience. So
Tombstone is a great choice. Number one, I really like this movie, and number two, it's a great example and a very famous example of scene stealing, not necessarily on purpose, but I
I
think
mean,
Val Kilmer before I think Kurt Russell
oh yeah,
for Tombstone,
oh
and
yeah. I think Kurt
again,
Russell has. I mean, Val Kilmer. Sorry, everyone. That was my watch telling me it's time to go to bed. Yeah, Val Kilmer stole the show for a movie that's not even about his
no,
character.
it's not about Doc Holliday. I mean, technically, it's about all of them,
Yeah,
but
but in the grand scheme of things, it's about Wyatt Earp.
and guess what? Who cares? Because Doc Holliday is the coolest guy in this movie, and Val Kilmer is the best, man. I love Val Kilmer.
The coolest
And
guy with tuberculosis.
yeah, I mean, listen, guys, you can be cool, but you can't be cool and have tuberculosis at the same time,
And
except if you're Doc
still
Holliday.
keep smoking your rolled up cigarettes.
That's right. So that's exciting. Now, Rain,
So, Jeremy.
what's going to be the next one after that?
Okay. So there has been, I've been kind of playing you a little bit. It didn't hit me until after we did Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about a film, okay, that took a lot of great actors, okay, and really missed the mark. So I want to point out that I do like this movie.
So hold on. So before we keep going, we're going to watch a bad movie.
Technically, in your eyes, it's bad. In your eyes, it's bad. I mean, yeah, technically critics as well, but what do they know? But and I know we've already talked about this movie together. In your eyes, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes, it's a decent movie. I do know there are flaws with it. I acknowledge that. I think before we started doing this, I would have defended this movie tooth and nail. But since doing this, I have noticed, yeah, there are flaws in this movie. So that's why I picked specific movies to really talk about certain actors' capabilities, because these certain actors are all in this movie together. So it started with Warrior,
Mm-hmm.
with Joel Edgerton. Then what did I
I
pick
mean, I
next?
picked Warrior, but that's not the
Well, I
point.
know, but you indirectly helped this idea birth. What did I pick after that?
I don't remember. I'm so angry.
Hang on. Give me a second. Hang on. Oh my god. It even
This is
has
fun to listen to, I'm
it
sure.
even has a watermark. Okay. Next it was Gilbert Grape.
Uh-huh.
Technically kind of refocusing the idea, refocusing on Leonardo DiCaprio from our season 5 premiere of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
And then last week being Pleasantville of Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't figured it out yet.
Just go ahead.
Next week, we are discussing Baz Luhrmann's take on The Great Gatsby. Okay. So, Jeremy, can I admit something to you?
Uh-huh.
When I originally came up with this idea, it was solely to piss you off. But then, really, I was like, oh, I'm just going to piss him off.
No, that's funny. That's funny.
But the more I thought about it, the more and more I was like, this film has so many fantastic actors. And we've already talked about some of their other hits with, you picking Warrior to really talk
Joel
about
Edgerton, son of a bitch.
And Leo's first outing as a leading man, and I wouldn't say leading man in Gilbert Grape, but it's about Arnie. And then of course Toby, long before he became Spider-Man. This movie, like I said, has so many great actors, but it misses the mark completely.
I'll tell you, spoiler alert, it's because it's a stupid story. And F. Scott Fitzgerald is a hack.
Okay. And that's another reason why I wanted to talk about it, because I adore the book. I think the book is one of the best pieces of literature ever written.
That's insane.
And so I was like, let's talk about the movie that again, like I enjoy the movie, but I do know there are flaws with it.
Mhm.
And then I know you hated the movie because I know you hated the story.
Well, I've only seen the Robert Redford one.
So you've never seen the Baz Luhrmann one?
No, I've never seen the Bosler. I don't like the
Oh,
story, and
this
so
worked out perfectly then.
so I've only seen the Robert Redford one. At the
Because,
time, the other one hadn't come out yet. It
well,
wasn't even. Yeah, we were still in high school, so that one wasn't even out yet,
obviously.
or thought about or anything.
So
So
here's the thing. Okay, and then we're gonna leave everyone for next week. But here's the thing, okay? The thing that Boz does, and I'm gonna just like gush all over the episode when we talk about it, is Boz uses visual details from the book to help. And it's, yes, there are blatant flaws in this movie. Okay. I'm gonna be honest. Like, if we did this podcast 5 years ago, I would have been like, no, Jeremy, this movie is the best piece of cinema ever. I mean, I still wouldn't have said that, but I now see there are flaws in this movie, but there's a lot of good things in the movie too. And we'll talk about it. Just,
I'm gonna keep an open mind. Thank
that's
God.
all I ask. At least I'm not making you watch another Wes Anderson movie.
No, I was terrified you were going to be like, "Hey, guess what? We're watching Royal Tenenbaums." I'm like, "Well, then I'm going to kill myself."
Well, that's okay because Luke Wilson does too. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
I mean, he actually doesn't. He makes it at the end of the movie. But like I said,
okay,
there is a point to why I chose the specific movies I chose after you chose Warrior, because I feel like I needed to help our audience understand, hey, these actors can knock it out of the park. And then when they all get together, they just miss it by that much.
okay.
Can you at least be happy that I acknowledge that this movie isn't perfect?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. To me, I can't speak so much of the film besides the little stuff I know about it, like the using contemporary music and the fully blue screen world that they're in.
Well, not all of it, but
it's most. And so, sure, whatever. But thank God it's not next week. Next week is Tombstone.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes. So sorry, everyone, for this big teaser of the week after Tombstone. Yeah. But I really needed to prepare Jeremy for what I had been sneakily doing.
He was right to do so because
I'm not gonna lie.
Like the story.
I'm not gonna lie. I was worried you were gonna figure it out at one point.
No, I mean, I don't think about this movie. So I mean, it's,
I told Ashton, like, he's gonna figure it out. He's going to figure it out, and I'm gonna have to come up with another idea. But then once I announced Pleasantville and you hadn't connected the dots yet, I was like, oh, yes. But like I said, I would say 25% of this was just to piss you off. Yeah. The other 75 is because I genuinely want to get your opinion on this. And yeah.
It's going to be tough. I tried watching Moulin Rouge once.
Oh, see, I got to pass on that. I've never seen Moulin Rouge.
I got a headache. It was like 15 minutes in, and I was like, this is so much.
The only Baz Luhrmann movie I've ever seen besides The Great Gatsby is Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo plus Juliet. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't say the plus, it's Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
He can go fuck himself. I'm not that pretentious. Wow. But that movie's great. I'm not going to say future episode because I have a feeling you're going to scream at me.
Whatever.
But okay, we're gonna leave it there, everyone. We hope you enjoyed The Road.
The Road.
I think everyone should definitely read the book and then see the movie.
It's tough. I didn't even mention he doesn't use punctuation in the book.
Really? So you feel like you read a whole paragraph and you're like,
well, it's not only does nobody have a name, but there's no quotations, and so you don't know who's speaking. And so obviously he's so good that you will know who's speaking, but at first glance it's going to be tough. So
fuck. Yeah. But anyway, but we hope everyone enjoyed the episode. normally we would plug where you can find it, but it's virtually impossible to find unless you physically own a copy. I had to find mine on YouTube, which I hate doing, but luckily some mad lad out there in the world uploaded the entire 100-hour 43-minute movie on YouTube, so go check that out if you can't physically find it. Next week, Tombstone. I think this is the first time ever we've ever had like a 3-week plan. So next week,
normally we don't.
Week 2, The Great Gatsby, and then week 3, I'm thinking of ending things. So we hope everyone enjoyed, and we will see you next week.